In this video, we'll talk about the importance of note-taking and writing out steps for learning math. Many students have a misconception about online math classes. They seem to believe that the learning actually takes place online. But this cannot be farther from the truth. Clicking and entering answers is not where the learning takes place in an online math class. The truth is that learning math, even in online classes, takes place when you write it down. So in order for the knowledge to get from the computer over into your brain, something has to take place in between. And that something is the writing down of the mathematics. Now there's a lot of research on memory, and most of it shows that we forget between 40% and 60% of what we learn within 24 hours of learning it. This means that many of the skills you learn in a homework assignment on Monday will already be forgotten when taking a quiz over that same material, even if it's just the next day on Tuesday. So notes are needed so you can go back and refresh your memory by reviewing worked out problems before you take an assessment such as a quiz or test. And most of all, any required proctored exam such as the midterm or final. Now, in addition, you must be able to show that you understand all of the steps that are involved in solving a problem. And writing out the steps when working exercises will help you to remember how to solve the problem, as well as helping you to recall what steps are required when you're completing exercises that give you instructions to show your work. This is true whether you're completing the assessment online from home or during a proctored session on campus. Also, your notes are more portable than your computer access. You can take your notes with you to fit in study time that you might not otherwise be able to find. For example, during a long car ride, during a break at work, or when you're riding on the bus. So you have to make every minute count, especially if you've got a busy schedule. And finally, in most cases, you just cannot keep all of the steps for solving a math problem in your head. The process of solving the problems is actually more important than the final answer, because problem-solving strategies can be applied outside of math classes. You must learn to think sequentially and to write out all of the appropriate steps when solving a problem, even though you may be required to just enter your final answer most of the time. Now this is important not only for learning and retaining the math skills, but also because sometimes you'll be graded on showing all of the proper steps that are necessary to solve a problem. So let's take a look at some helpful hints for study habits and notebooks, note-taking, and writing out steps. First, you need to establish a study environment. When you're trying to learn material for the first time, you should watch videos, take notes over the videos, and work out your exercises in an environment with few or no distractions. Turn off your phone, the TV, close your Facebook account, make sure the kids are busy or asleep. You may be used to multitasking when doing other things, but this just doesn't work when you're learning math. Most math students need a focused, quiet environment to be able to comprehend and retain math. The second thing, you need a notebook that is dedicated to your math class. Instead of a spiral or bound notebook, the best kind of notebook for math is a 3-ring binder with loose leaf paper. This is so you are able to remove and add items as the semester progresses. Now this notebook should be organized using tab dividers. In the first section, you're going to want to put important documents. So you'll print out important things such as your calendar of assignments or your instructor contact information. What if you need to contact your instructor or see some assignments that are due today and you don't have access to a computer because of some unexpected event? If you've got those documents printed out, you can refer to them in your notebook. In the second section, you're going to put your notes. So when you watch a video lecture, read the textbook, you're going to want to take note just like you would do if you were taking an on-campus class. Now in the next section, you're going to write out all of the required steps when you're completing your assignments. So you want to keep all of your work in your notebook in a section where you can write out all of the required steps. And finally, it's important that you keep a section for corrections. In this section, you can insert printed versions of your online assignments. Some of the best learning actually occurs when you print out the graded assignments and you go back and you correct your mistakes. Now another important tip is to remember to always label your notes at the top with the name of the assignment. If not, you'll get frustrated when you're trying to find a particular area in your notebook. And it's also not a bad idea to write down the date you first took notes or did the assignment. Then later, when you review the material, you can also write that date at the top of the assignment so you'll know when you have reviewed it and that you're ready for that part of the test, quiz, or exam. Now your key points and concepts are covered in the videos and must be written down. If it is important enough to be included in a video, it is important for you to write it down and that you also show these same steps when you're working out your homework exercises in your notebook. Also, use a highlighter. When you're watching a video and taking notes on the homework examples, you may see or hear something that you just don't understand. You'll use your highlighter to mark those things in your notes that you have questions about as you're watching. Then after you finish the video and homework assignment, if you still have questions, you can post them in the discussion board area of your class. You can consult with a tutor, or you can send them directly to your instructor in an iCollege mail message. Once you've gotten your answer, be sure to go back to the highlighted area and add that information that you learned from the discussion board or your instructor. Now it's also important that you do this for every quiz or test that you take online that is not proctored. If you miss something on an unproctored assessment, the chances are that you'll miss that same concept on the midterm or final exam, especially if you haven't taken steps to make sure you understand it. So print or write out these questions, highlight your areas of confusion, and be sure to seek assistance in those areas. Now remember that GPC Online provides several sources of free tutoring, both in a face-to-face environment and online, and you'll find this information in your course or by contacting your instructor. Now you've got to write neatly and legibly. What good are your notes or worked out exercises if you can't read them when it's time for you to review? And finally, don't fool yourself into thinking you can learn math without taking notes and writing down all the steps of a problem. You'll try to convince yourself that you'll find time to go back and watch those videos again. But when the semester heats up and life is happening all around you, you're just not going to have time to do this. So your notebook is easy access to the course material so you can review for a quiz, test, or exam. Remember, if you're following these hints, the areas which have given you the most trouble will be highlighted, and you can remember to spend extra time on those. So just take the time to write it down, and you'll be glad you did.